The title of this overall presentation is called Practice Being Present. Part 1 is on the concept of happiness. This is the first of 10 videos that will hopefully help you to become more familiar with the idea of being present. It will probably help to watch them in order, but each of them in its own right will give you information which may be of value when it comes to, as it did with me, in addressing some of your own issues of inappropriate behavior. Okay, in the Declaration of Independence, our founding fathers planted the idea that we all have a right to happiness. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But what about the pursuit of happiness? What does it mean? Well, does happiness go hand in hand with fulfilling your purpose in life? I've heard people say, I never wanted a perfect life. I just want one that's happy. So, how do we find a reasonable balance between happiness and sorrow? Now, we've all read books about how to be happy. We've all seen stories in the media or on television or in various movies which revolve around the idea of freedom. And the protagonists fight against all odds to pursue this unalienable right that we call happiness. As musician Bill Withers put it, don't worry, be happy. Well, in 1934, Francis Lederer and Joan Bennett starred in the American historical comedy named The Pursuit of Happiness, which depicted the romance between a supporter of the colonial rebellion and his particular attraction to the Puritan heroine that he meets in a small village in the colony of Connecticut. Then another film of the same name came out in 1971, starring Michael Sarrazin, E.G. Marshall, and Barbara Hershey, and I saw this one. This time, it's a more serious drama about a college student who tries to avoid serving a prison sentence for vehicular manslaughter. That's pretty serious stuff. But like its predecessor, the film does evolve into another love story. And again, a romantic comedy entitled The Pursuit of Happiness was produced in 2001. Another, mediocre example of Hollywood's attempt to deal with this universal theme, aside from, the renowned classics like To Kill a Mockingbird, which dealt directly with the issues surrounding justice and racial inequality. But let's go to a film that actually helps us to better understand what is meant by the pursuit of happiness, which tells the true story of an African-American man by the name of Chris Gardner, who wrote the New York Times bestseller, The Pursuit of Happiness. Notice with the Y instead of an I, which inspired the 2006 Will Smith movie in which Smith's young son made his film debut. Okay, now on the left, notice Gardner's interpretation of the meaning of the pursuit of happiness. It was right then that I started thinking about Thomas Jefferson on the Declaration of Independence and the part about our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I remember thinking, how did he know to put the pursuit part in there? That maybe happiness is something that we can only pursue. And maybe we can actually never have it, no matter what. Well, I want you to take a a look at the trailer to this film to give you a little bit more information about it.
I met my father for the first time when I was 28 years old. When I had children, my children were going to know who their father was.
Yeah.
Chris Gardner was doing his best.
We don't need two.
We don't need one. Maybe next quarter.
It's possible.
But his best
Hey! Wait!
wasn't enough.
Man, I got two questions for you. What do you do and how do you do it?
I'm a stockbroker.
Stockbroker. Oh. Hey, I'm gonna let you hang on to my car for the weekend, but I need it back for Monday. Feed the meter.
I need the rent. I can't wait anymore. I need you out of here in the morning.
You gotta trust me, all right?
I trust you.
Because I'm getting a better job.
Let me see if I can find you an application for our internship.
Did Mom leave because of me?
Mom left because of Mom, and you didn't have anything to do with that. There's no salary.
No.
I was not aware of that. My circumstances have changed some.
Dad, where are we going?
I don't know. Last year, we had an intern score on 90% on the written exam. He wasn't chosen. It's not a simple pass-fail.
You're not quitting on us yet, are you?
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
Jay says you're pretty determined.
Where are you going? Go to that hospital! I'm in a competitive internship at Dean Witter.
He said you're smart.
This thing's impossible. I can do it.
No, you can't. No one can.
Good gets happen.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
All right. Here's the screenwriter's interpretation, which says pretty much the same thing that the book does. Now, I started thinking about Thomas Jefferson and the Declaration of Independence and the part about our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I remember thinking, how did he know to put the pursuit part in there? That maybe happiness is something that we can only pursue. Maybe we can actually never have it. Okay. Lots of people have talked about the idea of happiness and what it takes. The Buddhist tradition says it this way: the secret of being happy is accepting where you are in life and making the most out of it. Socrates put it this way: he who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. Okay, so any of these films or interpretations about the pursuit of happiness, they all demonstrate that it is emotions that determine whether or not our hero's journey against all odds will end in happiness or in despair. Now, I want you to take a look at one more movie, and this time it's the animated children's film called Inside Out. Anybody seen it? Now, the beauty of Inside Out is that it gives us, the viewer, an often overlooked insight into some of the other emotions that we humans must learn to take into consideration when deciding how we respond to any given situation. Not just to only focus on the pursuit of happiness. Now, it all starts with our emotions and how they impact and influence our behavior. Well, sadly, most of us merely react to our emotions. I mean, there are, of course, some people who have acquired the skill to effectively respond to these impulses, but most of us function on the reactive side of the equation. Okay, let's take a look at some of them. Anger. Anybody get angry about things? Okay. And the cartoon are just priceless, okay? And then, of course, there's fear. Oh, my God. Oh, wait. Have you ever known anybody that just plays off of their fears? And, of course, we all want to be like joy. We want to have happiness in our life. We want everything to be terrific. But then again, there's sadness. Sadness is there. Oh, man. Depression. Oh, it's never going to work out. Or then there's envy. Yeah, well, I don't care. What I want to do is, envy. Envy comes into play. Now, these are the 5 emotions depicted in the movie, and the filmmaker chose to keep it simple. Okay, now stay with me, please, okay, because here's another fascinating clip. It's the next one from Inside Out, which clearly demonstrates the underlying value behind the emotion of not joy, that's joy there, but sadness. Okay, pay attention.
It was the day the Prairie Dogs lost the big playoff game. Riley missed the winning shot. She felt awful. She wanted to quit.
Well, that's a memory, and Joy is moving along so she can see what happens.
Sadness. Mom and Dad, the team, they came to help because of sadness.
Okay, sadness. Mom and Dad and the team came to help because of sadness. Now for Joy, who believes she, for the most part, has been the one calling the shots inside Riley's head, this is a true aha moment. She discovers that it is not just the emotion of joy that is important. It is all of our emotions working together that helps us to become better people. Now, the thing to understand is that our emotions, all of them, they are attempting to help us. But here's where most of us go wrong. Sadly, 1 or 2 of our emotions become the central motivating force behind our behavior. And that's where it all goes wrong. Does this make sense? Inside Out, however, it's not just a cartoon. Without question, we all have to deal with the reality, the often cruel and harsh reality inherent within the opposing concepts of justice and injustice, fair and unfair, right and wrong. And most of us have no control over our emotions. Even if we know this fact, it can still be hard to make good decisions because our feelings are so powerful. And there's so many of them fighting to be heard. Now, because Inside Out is a children's film, the filmmakers rightly chose to depict only 5 emotions for us to focus upon: joy, sadness, anger, jealousy, and fear. Is it possible, is it possible to attain a sense of well-being in today's world, regardless of your race, ethnicity, religion, or your poor or wealthy level of income? So, is there a realistic balance to these difficult questions. Now, Inside Out gets this right. It avoids the sort of maddening, self-serving, binary statements that kids always hate hearing from their parents or other adults. Oh, things aren't so bad. Oh, listen, you can decide to be happy if you want to. Oh, come on, look at the bright side of things, okay? And here is why this film is so important and educationally relevant for both children and grown-ups to see. Inside Out has found a way to present what really happens to each of us inside our own heads when our emotions take over. Inside each of us, these emotions directly influence us to make either poor choices or good ones, choices that will determine the overall outcome of any given event, and whether or not that outcome is going to be harmful or helpful. Now, responding appropriately with compassion, care, understanding, and empathy for one another is a big part of the solution. We each must learn to respond in this manner with every encounter that we come upon. Now, we all know that the reality of evil and injustice, and it's always been around forever, but somehow we must each find the courage to face these very difficult realities and not to be overcome by the great sadness they embody. But we cannot achieve this goal through apprehension and fear, through physical confrontation with guns, with war, or any kind of violent retaliation. Yes, I mean, we all agree that we must say no to evil, but it is so important that such confrontations are born from our compassion for one another and not out of sadness, fear, anger, or envy towards somebody else. When it comes to our outside behavior, each one of us is playing with the same emotional baggage, whether we realize it or not. Now, what Inside Out has done is this: it has simplified the ideas of Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and a host of other renowned psychologists, and it has given us a very practical, and here's the important thing, user-friendly way of understanding what many of us have rejected in the past or laughingly denounced. Most of us smile and say, what a bunch of psychobabble. Okay, I'm going to show you one more clip from this astounding movie. So pay attention. And I believe if you pay attention, you may begin to understand the sheer genius behind this incredible film.
New friends, huh?
I know. I'm kind of nervous, but I'm mostly excited. How do I look? You like my shirt?
Very cute. You gonna be okay? You want us to walk with you?
Mom and Dad, with us in public? No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm on it. Nope, I'm fine. Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad.
Have a good day at school, monkey.
Have a great day, sweetheart.
Are you sure we want to do this?
In we go.
Okay, going in, yes.
Okay, we got a group of cool girls at 2 o'clock.
How do you know?
Double ears pierced, infinity scarf.
Whoa, is she wearing eyeshadow?
Yeah, we want to be friends with them.
Let's go talk to them.
Are you kidding? We're not talking to them. We want them to like us.
Oh,
yeah. Wait, what?
Almost finished with the potential disasters. Worst scenario is either quicksand, spontaneous combustion, or getting called on by the teacher. So as long as none of those happen...
Okay, everybody. We have a new student in class today.
Are you kidding me? Out of the gates? This is not happening!
Riley, would you like to tell us something about yourself?
No! Pretend we can't speak English.
Don't worry, I got this.
Okay. My name is Riley Anderson. I'm from Minnesota, and now I live here.
And how about Minnesota? Can you tell us something about it? Well, you certainly get a lot more snow than we do.
She's hilarious.
Yeah, it gets pretty cold. The lake freezes over, and that's when we play hockey. I'm on a great team. We're called the Prairie Dogs. My friend Meg plays forward, and my dad's the coach. Pretty much everyone in my family skates. It's kind of a family tradition. We go out on the lake almost every weekend. Or we did till I moved away.
Hey, what gives?
What?
Hey, Sadness, you touched a memory? We talked about this.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Get back in your circle. What's going on?
Get out of there,
I don't
Joy.
get.
We used to play tag and stuff.
Cool Kids whispering at 3 o'clock.
No.
Did you see that look?
Oh, no.
They're judging us!
Somebody help me! Grab that! Everybody put it...
But everything's different now. Since we moved.
Oh no, we're crying at school!
What? Sadness, what are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a core memory.
But it's blue.
No, wait! Stop it! No! No!
Joy, no! That's a core memory!
Stop it! Let
Wait!
Core memories!
Ah!
Thank you, Riley. I know it can be tough moving to a new place, but we're happy to have you here. All right, everyone, get out your history books and turn to chapter 7.
Okay. Now, even as we root for Riley to find a way out of her despair, we're never encouraged to think that she's just being childish, or that she wouldn't be taking everything so seriously if she were older. We feel for her, and we feel with her. Riley's character in this movie, I mean all of the characters, a vivid example of what we all experience every day. And then there is, as I mentioned before, the harsh reality of conflict surrounding justice and injustice. And yes, the recent upheaval surrounding the injustice and murder of a black man named George Floyd by a police officer. It has sparked massive protests, not only from within the United States, but elsewhere around the world. I don't know, perhaps it seems that way. Perhaps the time has finally come for significant change and reform to finally take place that will address this age-old dilemma of ethnic inequality.
Across 4 continents today, tens of thousands took to the streets honoring George Floyd and protesting racism. CBS's Roxana Sabiri is in London, where huge crowds chanted Black Lives Matter for a second straight weekend.
Defying coronavirus restrictions, thousands rallied in the heart of London today. Inspired, many told us, by what's happening thousands of miles away in America.
If we're all human, then black lives should equally matter as well. And that's not the case.
Protests like this one have been taking place here in London all week, and the crowds have been diverse. You can see people here of different ages and races, but they tell us they all share the same message. The protests were largely peaceful, but the situation briefly turned tense when mounted police tried to clear a street and a horse broke loose, bolting into the crowd. The death of George Floyd has resonated around the world. This was the scene in Sydney, South Korea, and in Berlin, where crowds protested in silence against racism. Tomorrow, more demonstrations are expected throughout Europe, including here in London, outside the U.S. Embassy. Nora?
Roxana Saberi, thank you.
So, is it possible to attain a sense of well-being in today's world, regardless of your race, your ethnicity, religion, or your level of economic well-being? Well, if you believe there are realistic solutions to these difficult questions, take a look at part 2 of this 10-part series. Are you a hero? Which will continue to take a closer look at the practice of being present, which is a compilation of practices that I would hope may resonate with you. Thanks for watching.